Now, next up, Eric and I will take a little bit of a siesta while Bruce takes out the what is it? A fluffer, some sponges, a
Goes
lot of
behind the cinematic shower curtain
behind the
to take
shower
a
curtain.
I
devil's
don't think that's
bath.
what a fluffer is. I think you got that wrong,
Oh,
sir.
I apologize. I was probably watching something else before before the show, family show. The
But hey, if it
devil.
keeps your interest, we'll send one in for you.
That's it, yeah, right. That keeps one's interest. Very good, Bruce Purkey family show. The Devil's Bath. It's 1750 Austria, and that's all I know about this. I don't know, Bruce. You mentioned something, gave some clues about whether me or Eric will like it. I think Eric still has a link. I still have a link. We're gonna cover it next week, me and Eric, because that's a nationwide release. This actually no, next week it's going to be on Shudder, but for this week it's going to be on at New York's IFC Center. Bruce Purkey has a skinny on the Devil's Bath. What is it about? And your review.
So, directed by Severin Fiala and Veronica Franz, who you might know those names. They've kind of got a lot of indie buzz for previous movies they made. They made Goodnight Mommy, the original Goodnight Mommy, and not the superior one that you thought was done by what's her name?
Naomi Watts.
Yeah, Naomi Watts.
I love that movie.
The Lodge, that also. Neither of those movies worked for me very much at all. I had big problems with both movies, but both movies looked really interesting. They had really cool cinematography, very, they're striking, I guess I would say. And this movie starts out in a similar way. So it takes place in 1750, and it tells you right at the beginning, you're in Austria in 1750. The first little title sequence, I'm going to tell you this because it's in the very first 2 minutes of the movie, and it kind of sets the scene, is you see a young mother. They're out in the, very, looks like poor, like just living in the land. She has a baby. She's out working in the, working in the fields or something. And she picks up her baby and she walks off into the forest, walks off into the top of a waterfall, drops her baby off the waterfall. It bounces down into the distance and, of course, must be dead. And then the next scene is her walking up to, looks like a castle or a battlement, knocking on the door. And they open the door and she says, "I have committed a crime." You see her beheaded. Don't see her get beheaded. You see her beheaded. She's there with no head. And someone is cutting off her finger. And then the next scene, you cut to a young woman, Agnes, played by Anja Plaschg. I don't know how to say her name. It's a very hard name to pronounce for my American eyes. And so you basically, that whole opening thing, you're like, what's the point of that? And there is a point to it. It takes a long time to get there. And that's why I say this could be an Eric, this could be the a cross to the vampire for Eric. This could be like one of those movies that is just takes so long to get to the point he might have trouble with it. All that being said, it's basically Agnes, this young woman. It starts with her getting married, same time period. It's obviously a country wedding. She's getting married. There's a festival. She goes off, and the very first thing that happens is her husband shows her house, which she did not know she was going to have. She seems kind of happy with that. And it basically, from the very beginning, you feel like, oh, she's married. It's not her life anymore. Her life is under the control of other people now. And you see that immediately starting to weigh upon her. As a young woman, she's told what to do. She has a husband. She has roles that she has to fill. And as of many people in that time period, that was probably a huge weight to bear and probably really hard for many women to cope with. And it probably caused lots and lots of mental/physical anguish. So the majority of this movie is her struggling with that. And it does it for a long time. And it just kind of shows you her life. And your enjoyment of this movie is going to depend a lot about how much you are invested in just watching her character kind of slowly degrade. But the good side of that is the performance is remarkable and committed and very, very, very good. And she carries this movie on her back. And though I don't love this movie, and though I wish it really would get to the point, when it gets to the point, and it does eventually, so once again, I'm pounding this nail hard for Eric, it eventually gets to this point. It does make it in a really interesting way. And it's telling a story that about the past that you don't really hear about. And it's a very interesting chapter in history, which I didn't really know about. And the way the last few scenes play out are really quite affecting and quite harrowing, I would say. Like, it just takes a long time to get there. So I'm going to be a mild recommend on this, but I would say go in if you're a super art house loving indie film, slow burn, very grounded kind of period piece with great acting. I think you'll find a lot to love here. If you're a horror fan that wants something to kind of really get your heart racing, maybe not so much for you.
This might be a no for Eric. Eric, you will be absolved from watching The Devil's Bath. I'll always do a rewind next week. You don't have to watch this if you are too busy, by the way. That's what. So says Gregeth. What do you think of that, Eric? Are you okay with that?
We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens on the
I would say don't run to it. If you're like, I'm just kind of in the mood to give this a try, go for it.
This sounds like give it a half hour. So, well, no, actually it doesn't, because you said it eventually gets to where, I mean, if it's gonna end up in a space, then I'm willing to forgive the beginning stuff. But sometimes it's like the hurry up and get to the point is usually a result of okay, you're not getting to the point, but you're also not doing anything interesting either.
Yeah, I think it's going to probably lean more towards that for you. But this is one of the few cases where I'm not going to give the spoilers here because I want to let people, if they want to discover it, discover it. For you, I would probably tell you the basic idea of what is going on here. And then you could decide. I don't think it would ruin it for you. I think it might either inspire you or be like, okay, I don't need to know that.
Yeah. I'll give it a shot. We'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'm actually curious now.
I will tell you the last 20 minutes, a lot of stuff does happen in the last 20 minutes and some pretty extreme stuff. So it'll definitely, after you've been dozing for whatever the previous 1 hour and 35 minutes, you'll be like, whoa, something's happening. Wait, what's going on here?
So what is your rating on The Devil's Bath, Bruce?
I'm going to go 3 stars. Like, I'm probably one strong foot in Eric's camp on this one. I wish it could have got there in a little more vibrant way, but I super admire the commitment all the way around and the production that's going on here. And I really do love the actress and actor, I should say, and what she's doing here. And boy, oh boy, the commitment of that last 20 minutes or so is pretty gangbusters great. So it's worth it, I think, in the long run, for me at least. Okay,
so that is The Devil's Bath. Opens at IFC Center this Friday, June 21st, and releases on Shudder June 28th.
This is Cinematics.